My wife's last words changed everything. I wasted 79 years. I'm Peter Whitmore. I'm 100 years old. Yes, you heard that right. A full century on this earth. What I'm going to tell you, something more personal, something that changed everything about how I see relationships in the twilight of a very, very long life. And I need you to hear this, because what I'm about to tell you could save you from carrying the kind of regret that has weighed on my soul for the last 2 decades. The kind of regret that grows heavier with every sunrise I wake to see alone. My wife Susan and I were married for 68 years. 68 years. That's not a marriage. That's an entire lifetime. Multiple lifetimes for some of you watching this. We married in 1937 when the world was a completely different place. We survived a world war, raised children through another war, watched men walk on the moon, saw the birth of computers, smartphones, the internet. We witnessed the entire modern age together. And for most of those 68 years, I thought we had a good marriage. Not perfect, but good. Solid. The kind of marriage that survives depressions, wars, deaths, and decades of change. We were a testament to endurance. But here's what nobody tells you about marriages that span 3/4 of a century. You can live with someone through every major event in modern history and still not really know them. You can share 80 years of life, bear witness to each other's youth, middle age, and old age, and still be strangers in the ways that matter most. Susan died 18 years ago. She was 82. Pancreatic cancer. Diagnosed in March of 2007, gone by July. 4 months from healthy to gone. After 68 years together, I had 4 months to say everything I'd been putting off for 7 decades. And in those final weeks, lying in that hospice bed, frail and fading, she said something to me that I think about every single day of the years I've somehow continued to live without her. She said, "Peter, we wasted so much time being right instead of being close. We had nearly 70 years, and I don't think we were truly intimate for more than a handful of them. I didn't understand it at first. I was defensive. We had 68 years together. We raised 4 children. We buried parents, siblings, friends. We survived the Great Depression, World War II, everything life could throw at us. We rarely fought. We were comfortable together. We'd built an entire life, a legacy. But that's exactly the problem. We survived together. We endured together. But did we truly live together? You see, when you live to be 100, you have a lot of time to think. A lot of time to replay your life like an old film reel over and over. And I've realized that Susan was right. We were comfortable, and comfortable isn't the same as connected. Let me tell you what I mean. And please, listen closely, because I've had a century to learn this lesson, and I learned it too late. For decades, not years, decades, Susan would suggest things, small things. Let's take a pottery class together. Why don't we go dancing anymore like we did when we were young? Remember when we used to stay up talking for hours about everything and nothing? Let's go on an adventure, Peter. Let's see the world beyond this town. And I always had a reason why not. Too tired, too busy, too expensive, too impractical. The children needed things. The house needed repairs. Work was demanding. We'd do it when we retired. We'd do it later. Later. That word haunts me now. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I just thought we had time. When you're 30, 40, even 50 years old, you think you have forever. When you're married for 20 years, you think, we have another 20. Then you're married for 40 years and you think, well, we've made it this far. I thought those little moments didn't matter. I thought the big things, providing through the depression, being faithful, being reliable, working hard, keeping the family fed and safe. I thought those were enough. They weren't. You see, I thought love was about survival, about weathering storms, being there during the crises, putting food on the table during the hardest economic times this country has ever seen, coming home from the war, paying the bills, showing up. And yes, those things matter. They matter tremendously. But what I didn't understand, what took me nearly 8 decades to learn, is that love is built in the tiny, unremarkable moments. The conversations you have over breakfast before the children wake. The walks you take for no reason on a Sunday afternoon. The way you listen, really listen, when your partner tells you about their day, their thoughts, their fears, their dreams that haven't died yet. I stopped doing those things. Not all at once. It happened so gradually I didn't even notice. One missed conversation led to another. One, not tonight, I'm tired, led to thousands. One, we can do that later, became never. And when you have 68 years together, you think one missed moment doesn't matter because you have thousands more ahead of you. But those moments are all you have. They're all anyone has. And Susan, being Susan, she adapted. She was born in 1925. A woman of that generation, taught to be patient, to not complain, to make do. She stopped asking me to dance, stopped suggesting we take classes together, stopped trying to have those deep conversations. She found her own friends, her own activities, her own life within our shared life. We became roommates who happened to be married, polite, considerate, fundamentally alone. 2 people aging side by side, but not together. I didn't see it. Or maybe I saw it and told myself it was normal. That this is just what happens in long marriages, especially marriages that span 7 decades. The passion fades. You settle into routine. You become comfortable. You become companions in the quiet decline of old age. But comfortable is just another word for complacent. And companionship without intimacy is just shared loneliness. When Susan got sick, everything changed. Suddenly, after 68 years, we had a deadline. Suddenly, all those things I thought we'd do someday had a very clear expiration date. At 82 and 80 years old, someday had finally arrived, and it looked like death. And in those final months, we talked more honestly than we had in 40 years. She told me things I never knew, dreams she'd given up on, not at 70, not at 60, but at 45, at 35, at 28. Dreams she'd buried so deep I'd never known they existed. Hurts she'd carried silently through decades of our marriage. Times she'd felt invisible in her own home, in her own life, next to a man she'd spent nearly 7 decades beside. One night, about 3 weeks before she died, she told me about a trip she'd always wanted to take, to Scotland. Her grandmother had immigrated from there in 1898, and Susan had dreamed since she was a little girl of seeing the Highlands, walking through the villages, touching the stones her ancestors touched, understanding where she came from. She'd mentioned it to me. Not once, not twice, dozens of times over 6 decades. In the 1950s when the kids were young, in the 1970s when we finally had some money saved, in the 1990s when we were both retired and healthy. And every single time, I'd dismissed it. Too expensive. Not a good time. The kids need us. We should save that money. Maybe next year. We'll go when we're older and have more time. We never went, and now we never would. She was dying, and I'd said later for so many years that later had become never. She wasn't angry when she told me this. That's what made it worse. She was just sad, resigned, like she'd accepted decades ago, maybe in 1960, maybe in 1975, maybe even earlier, that I wasn't going to be the partner she needed, that she'd married a good man, a reliable man, but not a man who truly saw her. I asked her, my voice breaking, why she never pushed harder, why she didn't insist, why she didn't make me understand how much it mattered. And you know what she said? I didn't want to make you do something you didn't want to do, Peter. I wanted you to want to do it with me. I wanted you to care about Scotland because I cared about Scotland. I wanted you to want to know me. That sentence broke me. Because she was right. She didn't want me to take her to Scotland out of obligation. She wanted me to want to share that experience with her, to be excited about it, to care about it, because it mattered to the woman I'd spent nearly 70 years with. And I couldn't even give her that. Here's what I've learned in my 100 years, and I hope you're listening because this is important. I've lived through so much: wars, depressions, the rise and fall of empires, technological revolutions that would seem like magic to my younger self. But the most important thing I've learned came too late. The biggest threat to your relationship isn't cheating or fighting or some dramatic betrayal. It's indifference. It's taking each other for granted. It's the slow erosion of intimacy that happens when you stop trying. And when you have decades together, that erosion can carve canyons so deep you can't even see the other person anymore. You stop asking questions because you think you already know the answers. After 40 years, 50 years, 60 years, you think, I know this person. But people change. We're always changing, even in old age. Especially in old age when you're facing mortality and wondering what it all meant. You stop making effort because you think your partner will always be there. When you've been together for half a century, you assume you have forever. You don't. And one day, you wake up next to a stranger. Or worse, they're gone, and you never got the chance to really know them at all. After Susan died, I found a journal in her nightstand. She'd been keeping it since 1963, 44 years of entries, and reading through it was like discovering a person I'd lived with but never truly seen. A whole inner life I never bothered to ask about. She wrote about loneliness, about feeling like she was screaming into a void while I sat 3 feet away reading the newspaper, about small moments that hurt her, times I was physically present but emotionally absent. Times I chose work over her in the 1960s, times I was too tired to talk in the 1980s, times in the 1990s when we were both retired and I was more interested in watching television than in listening to her. She also wrote about love, about the young man she married in 1937, handsome in his suit, full of dreams and promises, about hoping that version of me would come back, about trying to reach me and not knowing how, about wondering year after year if she'd done something wrong, if she was somehow not enough. I was right there. We slept in the same bed for 68 years. We shared 25,000 mornings together, but I might as well have been on another planet. And here's the part that kills me, even 18 years later. It wasn't malicious. I wasn't trying to hurt her. I just got lazy. I thought showing up was enough. I thought providing was enough. I thought surviving together through the Depression, through the war, through all the hardships of the 20th century. I thought that was the same as truly loving her. But relationships don't die from dramatic failures. They die from 1,000 small neglects, from 10,000 not nows and maybes and laters, from decades of choosing comfort over connection. If you're in a relationship right now, whether you've been together for 6 months or 60 years, I want you to ask yourself some questions. When's the last time you had a real conversation with your partner? Not about logistics, or schedules, or what's for dinner, or whose turn it is to call the kids. A real conversation about dreams, fears, ideas, the meaning of it all. When's the last time you did something just because it would make them happy? Not because it was their birthday or an anniversary, or because you felt obligated, but just because their joy matters to you. When's the last time you looked at them, really looked at them, and felt grateful they're in your life? When's the last time you saw them as the unique, irreplaceable person they are, not just as the person who happens to be there? If you can't remember, you're making the same mistake that I made. Your partner isn't going to be there forever. I know that sounds dark, but when you're 100 years old, you've outlived almost everyone you've ever known. Susan is gone. My children are elderly now. My oldest daughter is 76. My friends from childhood, from the war, from work, all gone. And I'm still here, carrying this weight of regret. One of you will die first. And when that happens, you don't get a do-over. You don't get to go back and have those conversations you postponed for 40 years. You don't get to take those trips you kept delaying. You don't get to say those things you assumed they already knew. Susan and I had 68 years. 68 years. Most people don't even live that long. And I wasted at least 50 of them being comfortable instead of connected, being right instead of being close, being present instead of being engaged. Don't make my mistake. Love isn't something you feel and then stop working on. Love is something you do. Every day, every single day for 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, if you're blessed. In small ways and big ways. It's choosing to be curious about your partner, even after decades together. It's trying new things together even when you're 80 years old, and it's uncomfortable. It's having hard conversations, even when it's easier to avoid them. It's caring about the things they care about, not because you have to, but because they matter to the person you love. After Susan died, people kept telling me I'd been a good husband. They meant well. They said we were an inspiration. 68 years together. They asked for the secret to a long marriage. But they were wrong. I wasn't a good husband. I was an adequate husband. I met the minimum requirements. I didn't cheat, didn't abuse, didn't abandon. I provided. I showed up. But that's an incredibly low bar. Being a good partner means actively building intimacy. Choosing vulnerability, even when you've been together so long you think you don't need to anymore. Staying curious even in your 70s and 80s. Making effort even when you're tired and old and think you've earned the right to stop trying. Prioritizing connection even when you're busy or stressed or convinced you have plenty of time left. I didn't do those things, and now I live with the regret of knowing I had something infinitely precious and I let it slip away through sheer neglect, through the arrogance of thinking we had forever. 18 years later, I still think about Scotland. I'm 100 years old. I can barely walk anymore. I'll never see Scotland now. And I think about how little it would have cost me to say yes when I was 50 or 60 or even 70. A week of my time, some money, that's it. And it would have meant everything to her. I think about the pottery classes she wanted to take in the 1970s, the dancing lessons she suggested in the 1980s, the long conversations she tried to start in the 1990s, all the small ways she tried to stay connected for 50 years, and all the times I said no or not now or maybe later. Later never came. It never does. I've lived for 100 years. I've seen empires rise and fall. I've witnessed miracles of technology that would have seemed impossible in my youth. I've had more time on this earth than most people dream of. And the biggest lesson I've learned is this: all that time means nothing if you don't spend it truly connecting with the people you love. If you love someone, if you share your life with someone, don't wait for the perfect time to show them they matter. Don't assume they know. Don't take them for granted. Don't think you have forever. Because even 68 years isn't enough when you waste most of them being comfortable. Ask them about their dreams. Listen to their stories. Do the things they suggest, even if they don't interest you particularly, because strengthening your bond should interest you. Be present. Be curious. Be intentional. Because one day, you'll be where I am. You'll be old, maybe very old, sitting alone, looking through photographs from a lifetime ago, reading journals, and realizing you had everything you needed and you didn't appreciate it until it was gone. On my desk, I keep a photograph of Susan from our honeymoon in 1937. She's 18 years old, laughing, squinting in the sun, her dark hair blowing in the wind. So young, so full of life and hope and dreams. It's been 88 years since that photo was taken. 88 years. And I think about the woman she became. Still beautiful at 82. Still kind, but with a quiet sadness in her eyes that I put there through decades of benign neglect. I think about how that 18-year-old girl in the photograph trusted me with her life, her dreams, her heart, and I didn't honor that trust the way I should have. Susan was right. We wasted so much time being right instead of being close. Don't waste your time the way I wasted mine. Don't reach 100 years old carrying the weight of decades of regret. Love the people in your life actively, intentionally, while you still can. I've lived an entire century. I've had more time than most. And I'm telling you, all the time in the world doesn't matter if you're not truly present for it. Learn from my mistakes, please. Don't let the person you love slip away while they're still right there beside you. Because later eventually becomes never, and someday becomes too late. And no amount of time, not 68 years, not 100 years, not forever, can heal that kind of regret. This channel features people like me sharing life advice and memories. If you found this helpful, please subscribe and turn on notifications for more. And if you got something from this, leave a comment, hit that like button. If you've got a story to tell, something you've learned that might help someone else, there's a form down in the description. Fill it out. Maybe next time, we'll be sharing your story. Don't wait as long as I did to share yours. Share artifacts. Download all story, rewrite, document. MD my wife's last words changed everything. I wasted 79 years. I'm Peter Whitmore. I'm 100 years old. Yes, you heard that right. A full century on this earth. What I'm going to tell you, something more personal, something that changed everything about how I see relationships in the twilight of a very, very long life.